The male doctor was examining the pregnant woman. Taking advantage of the moment when his view was blocked, he secretly removed his gloves, then began the gynecological examination in a perverted way. He thought he was doing it without anyone knowing, but little did he know, that strange feeling made Claire sense something was wrong. But given his status as a doctor, she could only choose to endure it silently. After returning home, Claire stayed alone in the bathroom for a long time, until her husband came home from work. She finally threw herself into his arms. After hearing his wife's account, Mike immediately decided to file a lawsuit. Otherwise, more pregnant women would be harmed. This incident quickly became the focus of news. At the same time, many victims bravely came forward, all exposing the doctor's crimes. When Mike saw this news in the newspaper, he thought the matter would end there, but little did he know, their family's nightmare was just beginning. Not long after, Claire successfully gave birth to a baby boy. The family lived very happily. This day, she proposed wanting to build a sunroom. Mike agreed after hearing this, but due to his busy work schedule, he suggested hiring a nanny to help take care of the child. Soon after, a woman named Peyton came to apply for the job, but seeing that she was not only young and beautiful, but also dressed glamorously, Claire couldn't help but doubt her true identity. Peyton explained that she had just lost her child and could no longer have children, so she wanted to find a nanny job to fulfill her dream of being a mother. However, during their conversation, Peyton noticed that Claire's earring had fallen to the ground, but she didn't speak up about it. And just then, Claire's husband came home. When seeing the couple's loving manner, a strange look flashed in Peyton's eyes. Seeing that they were still hesitant about hiring her, Peyton took out that earring, then deliberately shouted nervously. When the couple hurried over, holding that earring in her hand, she lied that she found it in the baby's mouth. Just like that, she successfully got the job. Early the next morning, Peyton moved in with a string of wind chimes, saying the sound of wind chimes had a calming effect on babies. Claire readily accepted this after hearing it. However, what no one expected was, late at night, Peyton secretly snuck into the nursery, gripping a pillow tightly in her hand, staring fiercely at the baby in the crib. Suddenly, she pressed down hard with the pillow, but unexpectedly, she just gently placed the pillow aside, then tenderly picked up the baby and began feeding him. Looking at the quiet, well-behaved baby in her arms, Peyton's face was filled with happiness. The next day, Claire planned to wear the red dress her husband gave her to attend an important party, but Peyton beside her looked jealous, looking at the red dress on the bed. Then her gaze turned to the perfume bottle nearby. She immediately had a plan. When Claire put on the red dress, she discovered oil stains from perfume on the neckline. She mistakenly thought she had accidentally spilled it while spraying. She could only reluctantly change into an ordinary dress. Seeing this, her husband, although feeling slightly displeased, didn't say anything. At the party, her best friend kindly reminded Claire, if the hired nanny was too beautiful, it might threaten her position, but Claire didn't take it seriously. Meanwhile, Peyton was watching a movie with Claire's daughter, but she learned from the girl that a boy at school had been bullying her, but her mother always advised her to learn tolerance. Unexpectedly, the next day, Peyton came to the school, sternly warning that boy never to bully the girl again. Then she turned and left dominantly, and this action successfully won the girl's favor. In the following days, Peyton would tell the girl stories every night, while secretly feeding the baby at midnight. She seemed more like the mother of both children, but gradually, Claire noticed the baby was becoming increasingly resistant to nursing. Although she felt it was strange, she didn't take it seriously. This day, her husband gave her an important envelope before leaving, requiring her to mail it today without fail. However, Claire decided to water the flowers first. Not noticing that Peyton was staring at the envelope, she pretended to sit on a nearby stool, then quickly got up and walked toward the toilet. After locking the door, she took out that envelope, angrily tore up the business proposal inside. But this wasn't enough. She then began frantically banging on the door. After this outburst, Peyton felt much better. She tidied her appearance, then accompanied Claire to the post office. Claire discovered the business proposal was missing, immediately realizing she had made a huge mistake. But unexpectedly, even though she had destroyed her husband's 3 years of hard work, her husband didn't blame her for it. However, her husband's tolerance made her feel even more guilty. And what worried her more was, the baby's resistance to nursing was getting worse. She thought something was wrong with the baby, but she didn't know. This was the result of Peyton secretly feeding the baby every night, gradually reducing the baby's dependence on his biological mother. But Mike thought, as long as the baby's weight was normal, there was no need to worry too much. One day not long after, when Mike was busy in his office, Peyton suddenly came looking for him. She knew Claire's birthday was coming up, so she suggested Mike secretly plan a party. Mike was somewhat surprised after hearing this, thinking it was a good idea, and greatly praised Peyton's suggestion. Peyton also seized the opportunity, gently removing her clothes. This frivolous behavior drew strange looks from colleagues. To avoid misunderstanding, Mike hurriedly sent Peyton away, but unexpectedly, Peyton's behavior became bolder. She actually nursed the baby in broad daylight, and this scene was just seen by the gardener painting outside. Although the gardener had intellectual disabilities and couldn't pose much of a threat to her, Peyton still decided to get rid of him. For this purpose, she deliberately acted troubled, telling Claire the gardener's way of treating the girl was inappropriate. Although Claire didn't completely believe her words, the seed of doubt had been planted in her heart. The next day, Claire was renovating the sunroom. Peyton, claiming the intercom battery was dead, had her go to the gardener's cart to look for backup batteries. Who knew when Claire opened the drawer on the cart, she actually found a pair of her daughter's underwear. She was extremely shocked. Just then, the gardener also walked over. Although the gardener knew Peyton was behind this, he had no way to defend himself. He could only accept being driven away. The daughter didn't understand why her mother drove away the gardener. Peyton took the opportunity to deceive her, saying it might just be because her mother didn't like him. She also hinted to her that perhaps one day she too would be driven away similarly. This not only made the girl start to dislike her mother, but also, her relationship with Peyton became closer. One day not long after, Claire's best friend came to visit. When Peyton was moving things in the car, she set her sights on the lighter in her friend's bag. Meanwhile, her friend discovered the wind chimes hanging outside the nursery. She vaguely remembered seeing them somewhere, so she hurriedly left. In the evening, when Claire was chatting with Peyton, she had a sudden idea. She had Peyton guess who Mike's first love was. Unexpectedly, Peyton immediately guessed correctly that it was his best friend. Although Peyton claimed it was just a random guess, Claire became suspicious, but she didn't know she was falling into a trap. That night, Claire couldn't sleep well, but Mike just gave her a perfunctory kiss, then brushed her off saying he was too tired from work. This deepened Claire's suspicions. Late at night, Mike was awakened by a strange sound. He thought there was a burglar in the house. When he followed the sound, he found that Peyton had accidentally dropped something on the ground, and she was wearing thin pajamas. Her barely visible body made Mike somewhat aroused. Peyton actively invited Mike for a drink. In the end, Mike maintained his rationality and declined her kindness. The next day, Claire took Mike's changed clothes to the dry cleaner. Who knew she pulled out a women's lighter from the pocket? Claire immediately recognized it as her best friend's. This discovery confirmed her suspicions, so her husband and best friend had really betrayed her. After returning home, she angrily threw the lighter at Mike.
I understand you've been fucking Marlene!
Alright, Claire, that's enough! There are people in there.
Claire walked into the living room half believing, only to discover all her closest people were here. The birthday surprise instantly became a shock. Her best friend couldn't stay any longer. She could only leave the scene awkwardly. It turned out all of this was secretly planned by Peyton. She wanted to watch Claire become isolated and ultimately replace her position, but Mike still didn't blame Claire. Instead, he gave her a warm hug. Claire reminded Mike to be careful of Peyton, because she suspected Peyton had problems. Ever since she came to this house, so many things had happened in succession, but they didn't know this conversation was being heard by Peyton through the intercom, which also made her want to kill Claire. Meanwhile, her best friend made a major discovery. She found the house listing information with wind chimes in her memory and was shocked to discover the original owner of this house was that doctor. Her friend immediately understood. She immediately went to the records room, urgently pulled out the newspaper from that time. In the newspaper, she saw a familiar face. Her friend hurried to Claire's house and exposed Peyton's true identity. It turned out she was the wife of the deceased doctor. All her family assets were frozen. Her only house was also seized by the bank. More unfortunately, Peyton fainted from the unbearable heavy blow. Although she was rushed to the hospital, she not only lost the child in her womb, but was also forced to have her uterus removed. Overnight, she lost everything. From then on, hatred occupied her heart. She swore to take back everything she lost from Claire. For this purpose, she came here for revenge.